When I changed from site-based to workshop-based work, I found it really difficult to accommodate my MFT table, and I couldn't throw it away or sell it and lose all of that money, up until the point I mounted it on a cart. When I built my cart all those moons ago, I built it to accommodate sustainer boxes and an extractor, and that's no longer what I want. I need to try and reuse as much of the MDF that's in the current cart as I possibly can, just to minimise waste and cost. I'll put the design of the new cart up on the screen here somewhere for you, and if anybody wants the plans, I'll make them available to you. There's going to be drawers across the bottom, as you can see, 3 larger drawers and 3 narrower drawers. I want to get some of my hand tools here closer to where I'm working most of the time. I'm going to mount a hardwood frame across the front so that I can drill domino slots in it and then use the dominoes as supports for anything that I want to clamp on the face of it, using this Festool clamping system, which really is quite handy and one of the key features of the table. I also need to accommodate some power sockets in it, probably in here with a nice bit of flex on the back so that I can still pull the table out. Let's crack on. My new design's 1200mm long, approximately 100mm shorter than the previous design, so I've got the ability to trim off the damage that's occurred from the glue joints. Well, I'm ready to put it all together. So I've measured in 400mm from each end, and I've set my 2 center panels to the outside of the line, if that makes sense, because on this side I'm going to be putting an extra piece on so that I can get a larger width on the frame at the front. Hope that made sense, because 18mm to slot a domino in isn't enough. So I'll have 36mm wide frame at the front, which will take the domino nicely. So as I said, I've marked my lines down and plumbed my boards with my 2 lines, and on the back here I've marked my centre line and I've come in 100, 200 mil, 200 mil, 200 mil, so I could get 4 screws in each panel. So I'm going to pilot hole those and countersink them now, and then I'll pop the panels off, pop a spot of glue on, and then screw the panels in nicely. Then I'll do the same with the 2 end panels, and then I'm going to cut some triangular supports to go in to add rigidity to it, stop it racking, and then I'll flip it up and pop the bottom on. And I'm setting all of this up on the bottom board, so I've got a nice flat registration face. I've just realised I've got all of these drawer bases left over, so instead of cutting triangles to minimise material usage, I'm going to cut these down to make partial backs, achieve the same end, and use up some leftovers. Bit like having bubbling squeak after a roast. Now there's a meal for a cold winter's night. Well, my base cabinet's complete, bar 2 back panel pieces at either end. I've just dropped my MFT table back on top of it to get it out of the way more than anything. Space is at a premium here, you know. So my next job is to cut down some hardwood to make the frame up for the front, so I've got the larger place for my dominoes on the 2 center support pieces. So I've got some pieces of oak lying around in the workshop, just over 1200 mil long, as you do. Unfortunately 35 mil thick, and I need 36 mil thick for the 2 center posts. So I'm going to have to cut it down on the table saw and then flatten it or reduce it to the exact size on the planer. And then I'll cut it to length on the chop saw, and I'll use some dominoes to make sure it's nice and securely attached to the MDF cabinet. Let's set to. Bob the Builder. Why is it workshop upgrades cause so much devastation? Or is it just me? Anyway, my cabinet's almost done. My last job is to mount the MFT top. So I've popped the top off of the MFT top itself so that I can see down through easier to mark this little section here where there's a perfect place for me to cite some hardwood blocks on the top of the cabinet that will keep that MFT top securely in place. That's exactly the same method I used before. I didn't bother to screw it down to the cabinet beneath. It didn't need it, and I see no reason to do that this time. I'm just going to spend a bit of time lining the front up with the front of the cabinet so I've got everything completely plumb for clamping purposes. I can't get a ruler in there, but I can get dominoes in there. So that's a 10 and a 5's too much, just too much. Let's try a pair of 6's. Pair of 6's goes in, but there's a bit of slack. 8 and a 5. Oh, 8 and a 5 is a doozy. So I've got 13 mil. Now I can just drop my little blocks into the corner. Mark around them with my pencil. Well, that's my cabinet work complete, but the old MFT top is certainly lowering the standard, so I think I'm going to cut a new one. But I've just noticed the time. I didn't realise it was so late. Mummy's going to kill me. I'll see you in part 2. Ta-ra!